Guys, welcome to my new video series. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to the horse I'll be working with. So this is Remy. He's a 7-year-old thoroughbred gelding, and he is a rescue horse from Safe. Safe got him about a year ago, and he was an unhandled stallion, so they gelded him. And they found out after a while, after he went through some training, that he had some back problems, so he will not be able to be a riding horse. However, he is young and sound from groundwork, so I will be teaching him to work at Liberty in the hopes to help find someone to adopt him. In the meantime, I will be filming all of his progress and using that to make new tutorials for you guys. So this tutorial is going to be about introducing clicker training and how to use that to teach food manners. Usually when introducing the clicker training, I like to start with target training, but since, as you can see, Remy is quite pushy with the food, I decided to take this opportunity to also teach him food manners. So unfortunately in these first clips, the sound on my camera didn't work, so you won't be able to hear me make the actual clicker sound. But I do not use an actual clicker. I just make a sound with my mouth, which sounds kind of like this. So the idea behind the clicker training is that I want to teach them that click equals he gets a treat. Now, what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to be really precise in the kind of behavior that I'm rewarding him for. And that's also why the timing of when I choose to click and treat is going to be extremely important. So now what I'm going to be doing with him is ignoring all the behavior that I don't want, which is going to be the pushiness, the mouthiness, him trying to search for the treats out of my pocket. I'm going to ignore all of that, and I'm only going to reward the behavior that I want by marking it with a click and then giving him a treat. So in this case, the behavior that I want is I want him to turn his head away from me. In the beginning, it's really important to do as many repetitions as possible and to click and treat for the smallest behavior. So if he just very slightly turns his head away from me, I'm going to click and treat. I think the fun part in this is kind of letting your horse figure it out on their own. So you can see he got a couple treats, he's not sure why, and so he's trying to figure out a way to get more. Right now, the only way that he knows is trying to go straight to the source and to get them. So that's what he's going to try to do. But I'm ignoring all of those behaviors, and so he's not getting anything out of that, which eventually will cause him to go seek out some other option. So in these clips, you'll actually be able to hear my click and see the timing of when I'm giving him the treat. This was after I had already worked on it a few times, so he's starting to kind of put 2 and 2 together. You can see he still tries to reach for my pockets a little bit, but it takes a lot less time for him to turn his head away. So another thing that you can notice is to reinforce the fact that he doesn't get any treats from invading my personal space, is that when I do feed him a treat, I reach my hand all the way out so that he has to turn his head away to get his treat. So like I already said earlier, I would say in the first 4 or 5 sessions, or until you notice that your horse has really understood that head away means treat, I would reward them every single time they turn their head away, and I wouldn't necessarily wait for them to keep their head away too long. So it's really, as soon as the head starts to move away, I click and treat. Now, once your horse starts to consistently offer the behavior, is when you can start to make the game a little bit more difficult. So now, instead of giving him a click every time he turns his head away, you're going to click if he turns his head away and he holds it there for a second longer than he usually does. Now, I haven't quite gotten to that point with Remy, but one thing I have been doing is trying to experiment with placing myself in different areas and see if he can still figure out that he needs to turn his head away to get a treat. So he had it pretty figured out when I was standing on his left side. He was pretty consistently turning his head away. So then I moved to the right side, and that was going pretty well. So now I'm trying with me standing in front of him. So you can see he's got an inquisitive look on his face, and he's trying to figure it out. Try to not give him too much direction and let him find the way a little bit on his own. So if he walks forward, I can ask him to take a few steps back, but I try to ignore most of the other behavior and only reward him for the positive one. So it's a little bit of a puzzle that he has to put together, and I want him to try different things. Doing it this way is going to make it a lot more fun for him, because then it really feels like it's his idea and he's in charge of this game. And it's also gonna really force him to have to use his brain and teach him a lot of self-control skills that are going to be really helpful in a lot of other things that I'm going to work on with him later on. Another little side note is if you have a horse who is maybe food aggressive or just extremely pushy to the point where it's not really safe for you to be standing next to them with treats in your pocket, what you can do is to do this kind of training but with something that's called protective contact. So it would be having some kind of physical barrier between you and the horse, whether that's having the horse on the inside of the round pen and you being on the outside of the round pen, or having the horse in their stall and having some kind of stall guard up. That way, if the horse gets really kind of overwhelming, too excited, too pushy, too aggressive, anything like that, you can choose to completely ignore the behavior and walk away from them, and they won't be able to follow you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of brief introduction to clicker training and teaching food manners. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll try to do my best to answer all of them. Also, feel free to let me know if you have other ideas or suggestions for new tutorials that you'd like to see, because I will be working with Remy for a while, so I can use him to demonstrate a lot of things. If you would like to know more about Remy's story, or if you're interested in adopting him, I will link Safe's website in my description below, so feel free to go check that out.